What's going on, y'all? Today we got Reddick totally disrespects the greatness of Michael Jordan by making excuses for LeBron James. And I don't know how I feel about that title, man. I don't know if that's disrespecting Michael Jordan by making LeBron James excuses. I don't think that we got to see it in the context of the video.
What's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian. Welcome, guys, to another episode.
You got to see what he's talking
show,
about, man.
Where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, or entertainment. We give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Today we got a pretty interesting episode for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe to our Dreamers Pro Short Clips channel. We're going to be posting a lot of interesting content today on there, so make sure you subscribe to that. It's linked in the comment section in the description below. Anyway, let me get into this topic here.
See what you got for us today, man.
The media,
Dreamers Pro. Link in the description too, man.
Right, and the way we can kind of distort information to tell the stories that we want to tell, right? What am I referring to? As you know, JJ Reddick is quickly becoming one of the biggest voices in all of sports media as it pertains to the NBA, right? One of the major voices. He has a very big podcast platform with the JJ Reddick. I think it's an old man in the tree. I'm not sure what the name of that show yet. It's either his name or that. And he obviously makes guest appearances on ESPN First Take. And he's had a lot of very, very entertaining segments. As a matter of fact, the last time he was on there, he was kind of pushing back on Stephen A. Smith with some of his assertions about Kawhi Leonard, and I thought he did a great job with that. Now, what else do we know about J.J. Reddick? We know that he's more of a modern-day type of guy. I think he leans towards players that have a similar playing style to his, which is a three-point specialist. And he kind of leans towards this current crop of NBA players. He's also one of the few people that I've heard out there over the last few months or so really go at some of the NBA legends that paved the way for people like him and others. And it has caused him to get heavily criticized and, dare I say, called out.
That's a fact. I remember that. JJ Reddick, I feel like he's just what's the word? I can't remember the word. But I feel like he's just patterning his style to his audience. I feel like he has a young audience, so he's just trying to not upset them.
By some of the players in the past.
By ranking the players of this current generation higher than the players of the last.
What is it?
That's probably what's going on.
Cooper, Jerry West. I can't remember I can't remember some of the other guys, but some of the big name guys have called him out for his flagrant disrespect towards these guys. So last week he conducted an interview where he interviewed an excellent analyst, Tim Legler of ESPN, excellent analyst, and they were on there talking about various things, and it got to the part where they started to discuss, because I believe they were talking about Stephen Curry, LeBron, and it got to the part where I think they were talking about Michael Jordan, and they started talking about LeBron. And some people may say, "But why are you producing this show?" Well, the reason we're doing this, or the reason at least I believe we're doing this, is because we want to be a counterbalance to a lot of the things that are being said out there. And I think it's also important to state that we're not the only ones doing this. There are other people out there with independent platforms that are doing it, but I'm doing my part to provide a different view to this conversation, because I believe it's becoming too one-sided when we're talking about big media. So I said, okay, I have to weigh in on this, right? And some people are going to get annoyed by it, but some people, a lot of people, appreciate the fact that we do this, because we believe that we're saying some of the things that a lot of people think, but that's not being said on television, right? So I was listening to the conversation between the two of them, and, JJ Reddick, I think JJ Reddick paints himself as a basketball savant, which I believe, obviously, he's a former player, but I think he tries to present information as if what he's saying is the absolute truth based on how he's saying it, the information he's providing, when a lot of the times it's not really the case. In this particular segment that we want to play for you guys, what he was doing was he was basically, I believe, disrespecting the legacy or diminishing the legacy of MJ by making excuses for LeBron in order to put him next to MJ, which I thought was very distasteful. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what JJ Reddick has to say.
Let's see what JJ Reddick,
and then we'll come back.
Yeah, I want to see what JJ Reddick has to say, but at the surface level, it doesn't sound too bad.
Let's take a listen to what he had to say here.
That's what I've said all along. He's got more to gain from this whole thing, this whole discussion about him and LeBron in this series and where these teams go, than LeBron does. See, I think LeBron is locked in to two. He's not going to win a championship and leapfrog Michael Jordan. It's just not going to happen. No matter what he does.
Truthfully, in people's eyes, and I'm not saying this is not, but in people's eyes, he's not going to win 2 more.
Correct.
And leapfrog Michael Jordan.
Correct.
Because everybody's always going to bring up the losses without any context.
Yeah, I just think that's the way it's going to be for him. So he's locked in at 2, and he's not going to get caught. I don't.
That's what I think too.
He's not getting caught from behind. Like, wait, what happened now? Third? Yeah. What happened here? That's not going to happen either. That's why I think he's kind of locked in. His legacy's very cemented, and this will be great. It may be one of the crown jewels of his career to pull this off with that team.
Yeah.
And beat Steph in the process. Great. I think he's locked in at 2. I think Curry has more to grab.
I don't know whether there's an asterisk next to
Definitely, though. I definitely believe that as well. Curry has way more to gain winning championships. I ain't gonna lie, he win 2 more, win 1 more. People gonna start talking about him as the greatest point guard of all time. You know.
I personally don't believe there is. I haven't heard a compelling enough case. But with LeBron, there's always that. I think in 16, they bring up the Draymond thing. The haters he won the 2020 is a fluke win because it was the bubble, whatever. And then like Steph and KD for whatever reason, well, I know the reason, but they get discredited for 17 and 18 because no one was going to beat that team. I think truthfully, I think you put those 2 teams against any team in NBA history and they're probably winning a 7-game series.
I agree with that.
And that's not a knock on the Bulls. Like I'll say it's probably the 2nd best team of all time, right? But it's interesting because I think with Bron, too, outside of 2011, I go back to those playoff losses. It drives me crazy. The context of the other, 5 losses, right? We go 07. He dragged that team to the finals. That Pistons team that they beat
that starting
were
lineup.
so good.
Yeah, look at the starting lineup he was playing with in Cleveland.
They were so good.
Yeah.
So then you have, 11. You have 14. That Spurs team. Tell me at that point in time, with the way they played that series, who's beating that basketball team? It was a great team. Coming out for revenge, all that stuff. 15, Love gets hurt in the first round. Kyrie gets hurt, breaks his kneecap, so they're playing, with Matthew Dellavedova chasing stuff around. They don't really have an offense. Mozgov is starting that series. Like, it's just whatever, And then he has the.
I'm really just trying to wait and see for where he starts to diminish or disrespect Michael Jordan's career. Like, I'm not hearing nothing that really diminishes or disrespects Michael Jordan's career. Maybe saying the 17-18 Warriors was better than the Bulls, but even then, that's just his opinion. Like, and a lot of people think that. A lot of people. That's like, come on, that team is crazy. It's crazy, ridiculous. But. Yeah, man. I'm just waiting to see where the disrespect comes in.
And Steph and the Warriors. So it's like I don't buy any of this like asterisk like we should.
And if it is just he's disrespecting them by making excuses, that's yeah,
there's
bro.
asterisks every
That's
season.
just like what, bro.
About this stuff. If a guy wins a championship, a guy wins a championship. However, he had to do it that way. And LeBron, for whatever reason specifically, he had to do it with D-Wade and well, guess what? Larry had to do it with Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. And Magic had to do it with Kareem and James Worthy. And Bill Russell had to do it with John Havlicek and Bob Cousy and Sam Jones and Bailey Howell. I don't.
So you heard his comments. Now, here's my issue with people.
Hold on, let me just say this. I believe, me personally, I see nothing wrong with that. Me personally. Let me know how y'all feel, if y'all see something wrong with that. If y'all feel like he disrespected or diminished Michael Jordan's career by making excuses. Let me know, man, because I don't see it.
People like J.J.
Or,
I'm talking about what he's saying, not him the person. I don't know him. What people like this want us to do is make concessions for the times that LeBron lost. He wants us to make concessions, right? But then they want to take credit for the times he won. Follow this. You want to explain why he lost, then count why he won, while he won, which basically results in a net positive.
I mean, but it's like, this just goes back to the thing, like, are we knocking LeBron for getting to the chip 10 times? Like, are we knocking that, though? Like, that's my thing. Like, how can we knock that? How can we knock that, man? How can we knock that? You know? All these other players, they lost before they got to the finals, right? Or they didn't make it to the finals. So what's the problem with him making it to the finals and losing? That's a little, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. But it is in comparison to Michael Jordan. But didn't Mike play 15 years? So, and he won 6. The other 9 years, he wasn't in the finals. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit, how can you not, let me know how y'all feel about that, bro. I just don't think it's a knock to somebody for making it to the finals 10 times. I just don't think that's a knock, you know?
Really happened. It can all really be explained. He won 4 championships, and the other 6 that he lost, but there's a perfectly sensible argument to make for that. And what I'm assuming is, had LeBron won 10 championships, guess what would have happened? He would have been counting the 10 rings. He would have taken credit for it. Secondly, no matter how much context you provide to the subject matter, 4 and 6 will never be as impressive as 6 and 0. There's no universe where that will be more impressive.
But I don't like that. Like, why is it just because he got to the finals we gonna count that as like that shouldn't be where it starts. It should be 6 out of 15 and 4 out of 20. You know what I'm saying? And 6 out of 15 is definitely more impressive than 4 out of 20. You know what I'm saying? Just say it like that. I just don't think it should be, you know what I'm saying, like a knock to make it to the finals when most people don't even get there. What are we talking about? That don't even make sense.
Think about it this way. The goal is to win championships. The guy that won 6 with less opportunities, isn't he more impressive than the guy that won less that had more chances at winning? I mean,
okay. I just said that it was more impressive, but my thing is, it's like, just play. I gotta go back. Hold on, let me see.
With less opportunity, that won 6 this way. The goal is to win championships. The guy that won 6 with less opportunities, isn't he more impressive than the guy that won less?
That's what I was trying to get to. But like the thing is, Braun created those opportunities for him to have a chance. Like, you're knocking him for creating that opportunity for him to have a chance. Like, that doesn't make sense, bro. That doesn't make sense.
I mean, when you think about this from a practical, logical level, you quickly see how this thing falls apart. The easiest way to win this LeBron versus Michael Jordan is to use logic. That's the simplest way. Because if you apply logic to it, then it's a very easy debate to win. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. I have a question that I've yet to hear any serious person address, which is this. Let's assume that these 2 players are equals. And by the way, LeBron had more help over the course of his career than Michael Jordan. But let's just assume these 2 players are equals. If LeBron is in fact the superior player, why hasn't he been able to three-peat not 1 time? Forget about 2 times. Why wasn't he able to three-peat at least 1 time?
I'm not saying LeBron is that's a superior player or the greater player here, but I don't think that's a real fair argument, bro. I don't think that's a fair argument. I don't think that's a fair argument, because that's like saying because Kobe three-peated, Kobe's better than LeBron, and that's LeBron. People who are not Kobe fans or are not Kobe biased fans all know LeBron is a greater basketball player than Kobe Bryant. So that's basically what you're saying. You know, you can't use that logic. You can't use that logic.
What's the reason? Do you know what the reason will be? The reason will be you'll have somebody like JJ Redick come out and say, well, these people don't want to add context to it. So what about the context we're going to add to Jordan's career that highlight all the wins that he has. What about that context? Context works both ways. To me,
100% agree, man.
Whenever we
Because
talk,
a lot of people only add context when it helps their argument. You know what I'm saying? Then when the stats and the numbers look good, they don't even need no context. You know? You know what I'm saying? I just hate that.
dominance.
I 100% agree with that, Dreamer.
And we're comparing
You know what
these
I'm
two players. I think it's laughable to say that LeBron has been as dominant as MJ. He may have been as dominant on an individual level with his individual stats, but in terms of dominance over the game, it's not even close. It's not even close. It's not even close. Jordan's teams had an 8-year stretch where they never lost more than 2 games. I'll repeat that once more. MJ's teams had an 8-year stretch where they never lost more than 2 basketball games in a row. I want you guys to think about just how crazy of a stat that is. Then what I want the LeBron people in the comments to do is bring me 3 seasons. 3. Where LeBron's teams never lost more than 3 games. Never lost more than 2 games in a row. Bring me to see. You'll never find it. You'll never find it. But these guys want to talk about, it's dominance. Here's why I think it's disrespectful, and we put the word disrespect in the title.
But I think they just talking about individual dominance, because when we comparing players, we're comparing them as individuals, you know, and that's where you're disconnecting it. You're talking about Jordan's team as a whole, how they won, how they never lost 2 games in a row for 8 years, and that's facts. That's cool, but if we're comparing them as individuals, then you can't even use that. Like, how does, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I think it's
Let me know how y'all feel about it.
face
Comment down below.
for MJ's legacy to compare him to an inferior basketball player. I think that's an insult.
Okay, there it goes. That's probably why. That's what it is.
Legacy to compare him face for MJ's legacy. I think is a slap in the face for MJ's legacy to compare him to an inferior basketball player. I think that's an insult. I think that's an insult to do that. And this is the primary reason so many NBA legends go at JJ Reddick. He's constantly disrespecting players of the past, but then brings you players that could not even carry those guys' lunchbox and tell you how great they are. This is why they are upset with this guy. This is why. He will bring players that are inferior to players in the past, players that are less accomplished, and then try to downplay what those guys did. They talk about Larry Bird on TV like he's just some dude. They talk about...
I mean, in this clip, he ain't really do too much of that, though. He ain't do... I ain't see it in this clip. I'm talking about this clip, only this clip, because we know what JJ Reddick was talking about in the other Jones. He was wild. I was on his ass. You know what I'm saying? You go check the other videos. Word. But in this, he ain't say nothing. He ain't disrespect. It's just that bro feels comparing an inferior player to MJ's legacy is disrespect. So that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's really a him problem. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, it's a comparison that's been made for years at this point. Like, it's been being made for years. Like,
about Larry Bird on
it's just
TV
something that's gonna happen, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
You look at some of the best 2 guards in the NBA. Which one of them is better than Jerry West? I'm gonna repeat it. You look at some of the best 2 guards in their prime in the NBA today. Which one of them is better than Jerry West?
The 2 guard spot is weak at this. Like, in this day and age, 2 guard spot is weak.
Do people even know how good Jerry West was?
No.
So to me, I think it's such a bad look.
I just started my journey.
Former players or players or whatever it is, disrespecting players that pay. See, here's the thing. Do you realize if it wasn't for players like Magic Johnson, if it wasn't for players like Larry Bird, if it wasn't for players like Michael Jordan, if it wasn't for players like Jerry West, and so many other great Pantheon players, do you know that if it wasn't for those players, nobody would give a damn about us talking about basketball?
That's a fact.
Do you realize that?
That is a fact.
Do you realize that?
That is
Do
a
you
fact.
realize, JJ, no one
That
would
is
give
a
a
fact.
damn about your opinion about basketball had those guys not.
And that's
did
why
what
you
they-
respect
did
your
what-
elders,
did
man.
what
You
they
know
did.
what I'm saying?
Do you realize
You're not
you're
saying
running-
you're not saying nothing wrong right here. But you know what I'm saying? No wrong right. You know what I'm saying? I got that to say.
money that you earned? Had it not been
Real shit.
for the guys you just laugh off the stage and
talking facts
dismiss,
now.
like the Larry Birds? Do you realize that? Do you realize that the guys that you laugh at that came before them paved the way for the guys that came after them that paved the way for you?
And I see now. This is really more so about just what JJ Reddick's been doing. It's not really even about what he just said. It's more so about what the accumulation of things he's been saying. Is obviously got brought to his breaking point. He's going crazy. He's expressing himself right now. That's it.
To earn millions to play a game that they push forward. You cannot insult players at that level that push the sport forward. You didn't. And laugh at these guys like I said, oh, well, they're old and they're dinosaurs. That you can't do that. And I got to say it, basketball is the only place you see this classless thing happen. I'm an avid Formula One watcher. I never see this in Formula One, ever. Where you have current players like current drivers like Max
What's Formula
Verstappen
One?
disrespecting
Okay,
players in the
NASCAR,
past. It's all mutual
platform.
respect. It's all mutual respect across the board. But whenever we get to the NBA, there got to be this element of insults and being ignorant about players before.
And that's the just trying to cater to your audience. I feel like that's when I feel like JJ Reddick starts to try to cater to his audience, try to be funny for little kids watching that don't know no better, you know. And it's not cool. That's not cool at all, bro. Bro, just being a clown at that point.
This is
you know?
why you can't take
no
people
need
like
for
this
that.
because they don't respect legacy.
That's doing it for the clout and you know what I'm
They
saying,
don't.
the numbers and
They don't really care about
But that's really what a
about
lot
the
of
work
the
that
industry
went into
is,
get
like,
them to where they
it
are
is
at that
what it is,
moment.
though.
They don't really care. What you should be doing is, man, I'm not talking about he's a GOAT. Why would I even discuss this? Why would I even discuss this? Who do you think, apart from what Larry Bird, Magic, who do you think invented the NBA shoe market for guys to be getting these exorbitant contracts for shoes? Who do you think? You keep your mouth closed when you're talking about those group of players. I don't understand you dudes. I don't know if it has something to do with the way you're raised.
I mean, but he's trying to, like, you don't want him to compare LeBron to MJ. Is that what he's trying to get to right here? But I feel like that's just something that's gonna
I don't
happen.
get
Like, you
it.
can't be mad at that.
To me,
That's something that's just
it's
gonna
not
happen. Been
clever.
happening for years.
It's not amusing. It's classless to me. Maybe I was raised different to respect my elders and those that came before me. There's some
That's a
people that
fact,
have
though.
no.
You know what I'm
There's some
saying?
people that have
You know what I'm saying?
respect
Come
is
on.
not even a part of their DNA, which is cool. I just don't associate with them. Nor do I respect them. Nor do I respect them. How can you be sitting up there talking about these dudes like, oh, well, you know, just laughing at these, ha, 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 la, la, la. Do you know that those guys were greater in their era than you in your era? Do you
That's a
realize that?
fact.
They were
That's a
greater in
fact.
their era.
That's I said that too. Like, JJ, you talking crazy, but you wasn't even all that. Like, I've been said that. Like, you can't be talking crazy about the, you know what I'm saying, the legend of the game. And you wasn't even all that, my boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? You was a spot up in the corner. Stay right there. You know what I'm saying? Don't do nothing else. You can't do nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Come on, bro.
At that sport than you were in your era at that, yet you have the confidence to talk about them. Where does this exist? I've never played professional basketball, and I have more sense. Enough sense, excuse me, to be insulting these guys.
For real.
It's such a disgusting look, a distasteful look. I gotta say it. Somebody gotta say it. It's an
That's the
embarrassment.
end of this one, y'all. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this. You know what I'm saying? Put the timestamp so I know what part of the video you was talking about. And I'm out of here, man. Click on the last reaction on your screen right now.